Made it through the first four, and now we're moving along, but rough waters ahead. Literally. Level 5 is Surf City, and the difficulties are based on the controls alone. I wouldn't say there's a error or flaw in the programming or anything like that. The controls are just very hard to master. Now, the concept is easy, but making it all the way through will take a lot of practice.
What makes this hard is that you're not just floating down the river, you're skipping, constantly bouncing up and down. Here's what I do in the beginning. I stay back for the first four going up and down. I stay up for the fifth, down for the sixth, down for the seventh, up for the eighth, and I stay up and move forward for the ninth and 10th. Pull back and try to time your bounce so that you hit the edge of the waterfall and move forward to grab the one up.
I've done this so many times that I don't even think about it really. The patterns, like many things in this game, are permanently ingrained in my head.
The whirlpools are tricky. Don't just stay up or down. You have to jump ahead a little bit as you pass them, then pull back. So work on your timing. Here's the only solid ground section of the level. I opt to ram as many of these life invaders as I can for the points. Don't worry if you miss a couple of your life bars. 2 flies show up a little later and you'll get your energy back. It's the points and the extra lives that matter. Speaking of points, remember what I said in level 1? Give these robots some room to come back so that their heads stay in the frame after you smash them. Then smash their heads for points. It's petty, but like I said, it's a good habit to get into. This upcoming enemy, Big Blag, can be killed easily, so this is what I do. I inch myself forward so that my weapon doesn't fly too far away. I pick it up as quickly as I can and begin to hit him when he's trapped against the confines of the screen. To help my rhythm, I press the B button the exact moment that I hear the sound of him hitting the ground. This rat always reminded me of a kid who I went to elementary school with. I think it's because they pretty much had the same haircut. Okay, so now you're near the end. I don't have a whole lot to tell you here because the mines appear in a different pattern every time that you play. I utilize the width and range of the river as best as I can, you know what I mean? I go up and down, forward and back. After the first waterfall, the speed picks up. What you want to remember is that after the ramp here, there's a 1-up. Push yourself as far forward as you can and line yourself up with a lower third of the river to grab it. Try to line your shadow up with where I put the dotted line. Be sure to pull back and give yourself room after you get it. Also, if you decide on moving in a particular direction to avoid a mine, commit to that direction. Don't hesitate. Look at my movements and hopefully you can get a feel for how to prepare. Luckily, there are only 3 mines after the third jump, so the very end is the easiest part.
Level 6 is remembered as the Snake Pit, but it's actually called Karnath's Lair. Who knew? It's a classic example of trial and error in video games, whereas you're going to die a few times until you memorize the snake patterns and movements.
There are 4 sections, and this one is the easiest, needless to say. It has 3 snakes in total. You want to stay on top of them as they move from wall to wall, and to climb them while they move up, press the A button. No need to press up, you'll move automatically. Wait, what's going on here? Anyway, you'll have to jump early to anticipate the snakes coming out of the wall. When the blue snake goes down, wait for it to come back up. Jump on it as it ascends towards the exit. Section 2 has a warp in the beginning of it that'll bring you to level 8, and I'll show you how to get it later. There are 6 snakes in this one. Drop down and stay as far left as you can to avoid the spikes. Jump over them and follow the snake to the wall. Allow yourself to drop down to the platform and follow the second snake up while jumping over the same spikes again. This is the hardest part of the section, and there may be a better way to do it. I wait until the end of the tail, and then I jump lightly to the front of the snake to avoid the spikes above and below. The 4th snake only requires you to jump over 3 spikes. Wait until the 5th snake begins to create safety over the second set of spikes, and then stay there until the front comes around. The final snake just moves in a straight line towards the exit, but it's a little quicker, so take note. In some ways, Section 3 is the hardest of them all, with 7 snakes to worry about. The movements of the first one may seem confusing at first glance, but you only have to avoid one set of spikes as you stay up and move to the right. The second snake comes out of the wall from below, and I jump out of habit just to be safe. Wait here until it comes around and prepare to jump diagonally between two spikes. This is easier than it looks, and I'll show you why. For whatever reason, you can jump through the bottom left of the top spikes. I mean, look at that. Pretty lenient. You won't make it if you try to jump these 3 spikes here, so wait until the front comes from below. Just hang out in here for a second or two. Jump twice over the bottom spikes while avoiding the top one. The next snake is fast, and there is one set of spikes, so be quick. The 5th snake is a gimme, as it just brings you to the right. Jump about here to make it through this pattern. And then jump once to make it to the exit. Start this one by abandoning the snake and jumping left to the platforms. Catch up to it and wait for the second of 4 snakes. It comes out from the same hole that you're waiting at. This part really sucks. Run to the left and stay in place, and then time your jump so that you land on the 3rd snake. You can't go wrong here, just follow it to the left. And now the hardest part of the whole level, the final snake. Jump up to land on it, then climb to the top. Run to the left and stay in place until the last possible moment. Then jump to the right and land on the snake to get the hell out of here. The Fire Zone, or Volkmeyer's Inferno, is next. You'll see almost immediately that it's very similar to the Turbo Tunnel in design and concept. The difference that you'll notice right away is that killing the enemies is a quicker process, just one hit. And while this level also ends with a vehicle challenge, getting there is a little more difficult. Say, for instance, these 3 logs. The first one allows you plenty of time to react and jump on it. You can pretty much land on it while it's coming towards you or as it's moving away. The second one isn't like this though. You'll have to wait and jump at the exact moment that you see it coming into the frame, because by the time you come down and land on it, it'll change directions. Pretty sneaky. And the third one is exactly like the first, so it's really only the second log that should give you trouble. This part coming up kind of reminds me of the swinging crane in Karate Kid. You have to quickly react to the rat rockets coming from both directions. I headbutt them here, but you don't have to. You can just time an ordinary punch to kill them. The next time they show up, there are 4 of them and they move faster. You definitely don't want to headbutt them this time because, well, you see what happens. Just stand in the middle and punch. There are 2 more enemies and then the board literally turns into a fiery hell pit. I really love the graphics here.
The second half of this level is a lot like the Snake Pit in that it requires a lot of memorization. So really the most that I could do for you is show you what comes your way.
There are, again, 5 sections. In the first, you have to move through the openings of these electrical barriers. It starts off with 4 before there's a break. There should be just enough time to react as to where the openings are, so move accordingly. The next part has 8 barriers. After these, there are 4 that separate as you approach them. Go up, down, stay in place, then up again. Move forward to about here and go up, down, and up. The fireballs in section 2 come at random, and I usually stay up. It's not totally safe up here all of the time, but it's where I feel comfortable. At this point, an extra life appears in the middle of the screen, so you want to get down there to anticipate it. Try not to go down too soon because this is what can happen. If you're willing or able to count it, the 1-up comes after the 46th fireball. I just use an internal clock to know when to start moving down. As you saw earlier, that clock isn't exactly perfect, which is probably why I always oversleep. It seems never-ending, but by the time you get the 1-up, you're about 2/3 of the way through. And it's important that you always try to get it, because even if you die shortly after grabbing it, it'll reappear when you restart the section. And that's not the worst thing in the world, because your point ticker is still racking up the points after you continue.
Theoretically, you can keep intentionally dying after you get the 1-up and just rack up your score.
This section is high anxiety. Again, there's no pattern to the bombs, so just stay a little up in the screen above the black line while they rise, and then move below the line when they fall. That'll buy you some reaction time. There are 4.5 waves of bombs here, and in each wave the bombs move at the same speed, so at least there's that. What makes this really hard though is that the bombs start falling before they're even finished rising, and vice versa, so there's virtually no time to prepare. The 5th wave is the shortest because the bombs only rise, and there's a 1-up at the very end of it, so be sure to stay as high up as you can go. Alright, things get a little crazy now. Stay just above the black line for the first 3, stay in place, then go up, down, down, up, up, then come back to where you started. After 3, immediately move forward as far as you can go. Pull back, move forward, then pull back before the very last section. The electrical barriers will blink and reveal where you need to go. It'll increase in speed and it'll become very difficult to react. I don't think it's useful to look back and forth between Rash and the barriers to see where you're lined up. I keep my eyes focused entirely to the right of the screen where the barriers appear, and I use parts of the background as visual reference points. I'll line them up accordingly by using the corner of my eye without actually looking over. It's kind of like parallel parking a car or hitting a curveball. You just have to trust your hand-eye coordination skills. Even so, you need to know which directions to go beforehand, especially towards the end, so study this section if you need to memorize it. I had to do this several times before I got good at it, so don't give up, don't get discouraged.
Truthfully speaking, that is my least favorite level in the entire game, but listen, if you made it this far, then you're more than halfway through the game, so be sure to keep checking back as we make it through all the way to the end.